The balloons floated high above the decorated tables, catching the golden afternoon sunlight as they swayed gently in the spring breeze. Laughter echoed through the garden of my ex-husband's sprawling home, filled with family and friends, all gathered to celebrate my son, Caleb's, 13th birthday. He was finally a teenager, a milestone I had dreamt about ever since he was a toddler clinging to my leg in our tiny apartment. I had helped plan this party. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Caleb loved Italian food, so I found a restaurant that would cater all his favorite dishes. I baked his favorite chocolate cake with the thick strawberry frosting he always asked for on special occasions. I even tied the ribbon on his presents myself. His father and his wife, my son's stepmother, hosted the party, but I made sure my son's smile would shine brightest that day. And it did. Until I saw the head table. Caleb sat like a young prince in the center, his curly hair bouncing as he laughed with his friends. One seat to his right was filled by his stepmother, dressed in a glittery dress, beaming like it was her own celebration. To his left, a tiny chair had been set for the family dog, wearing a bow tie. The seat beside him, the one I thought was mine, sat empty. Reserved. I stood quietly at a table near the back, half hidden behind a group of cousins. I kept telling myself it was okay. That it wasn't about me. That as long as Caleb was happy, I was fine. But then he looked over. Our eyes met. His smile faded just for a moment. He tilted his head and said loud enough for others to hear. "Come on, Mom, you always like staying in the background. You're just back where you belong." I don't know if it was the words, or the way he said them, casually, like he wasn't even trying to hurt me, that made something inside me sink like a stone in water. Everyone around chuckled awkwardly and kept on eating, pretending not to notice. But I noticed. Every beat of my heart echoed in my ears like a drum. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't even blink. Instead, I walked over to the main table, reached into my purse, and placed a small velvet box in front of Caleb's plate. He looked at me, confused. I leaned in slightly and whispered, "Happy birthday, baby." Then I turned and walked away, heels clicking softly against the stone path as silence fell over the entire party. Not a soul moved. After a long pause, Caleb opened the box. Inside was a silver locket. One side held a photo of him as a baby in my arms, the day I brought him home from the hospital. The other side had an inscription. "When everyone forgets who stood by you first, remember me. Love, Mom." Gasps filled the air. I didn't need to look back to know that tears filled his eyes. But I didn't stop walking. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The chatter that once filled the air like confetti had disappeared. The cheerful music, the clinking of glasses, the laughter, it had all frozen. Only the quiet shuffle of my heels against the gravel path remained as I walked toward my car. Inside, I gripped the steering wheel, breathing through the sharp twist of pain in my chest. I had always told myself motherhood was sacrifice. I had given up promotions, relationships, even my own healing time after the divorce, just so my son could smile. But nothing prepared me for the sting of being forgotten, not by strangers, but by the very person you gave your entire world to. Caleb wasn't a cruel child. No, I had raised him better than that. But influence, it's a powerful thing. And his father's new world had painted me as the woman in the background. The helper. The planner. The one who did things out of duty, not love. I sat in that car for 15 minutes, maybe more. Just breathing. Just remembering. Back at the party, the silence lingered like a heavy fog. Caleb stared down at the locket, his fingers tracing the tiny inscription. His stepmother leaned toward him, her voice uncertain. It's beautiful," she said. But Caleb didn't respond. His thoughts had wandered far, back to the nights he was sick, when it was my hand on his forehead. The first day of school when he clung to me like the world was ending. The times we'd eaten canned beans for dinner, but still danced in the living room like we were at a feast that he had forgotten. Or worse, ignored it. He swallowed hard, suddenly noticing the empty chair beside him. The one that should have held his mother. The one that now screamed louder than any music ever could. Without a word, he stood up. He clutched the box and ran. I was halfway through packing up my purse when the doorbell rang. The sound startled me. It was already past 8 p.m. The party should have still been going. I wiped my face, careful not to smudge the little makeup I'd bothered to wear. When I opened the door, there he was. Caleb. Standing in his party clothes, shoulders slumped, locket still in his hand. "Mom," he whispered. I said nothing. I just stepped aside. He walked in like a boy who had lost something and wasn't sure how to find it. His eyes flicked around my small apartment, landing on the pictures hanging crookedly on the wall, the worn-out couch, the half-eaten cupcake I hadn't touched after the party. "I didn't know it was going to feel like that," he said, voice barely audible. "I thought I was being funny. I didn't mean to push you away, not like that." I nodded slowly. Intent doesn't always match impact, Caleb. He looked down at the locket again. "I remember the picture. You used to carry me on your back when my legs hurt after school. You used to sing to me when I cried. Dad never talks about those days. Neither does she." He took a deep breath. "I think I got caught up trying to fit into their world, and I forgot who built me. That was all I needed." I pulled him into a hug, his teenage arms awkward but tight. My heart cracked and healed at the same time. We sat together on the couch, just the two of us, as if time had folded and brought back the days when we used to eat popcorn and watch cartoons. Only now, there were no cartoons. Just silence, occasionally interrupted by the city noises outside my window. Caleb fidgeted with the locket. He hadn't taken it off since he got here. I could tell something else was bothering him. "Dad called," he finally said. "He said I embarrassed everyone by running out of the party." I stayed quiet. I knew better than to feed into it. He looked at me. "Was I wrong? Do you feel like you were?" He hesitated. I think I forgot what matters. I got used to having more. Bigger things. Fancier parties. But I didn't realize I traded something real for something shiny." He looked around my modest living room again. The worn couch. The old bookshelf filled with fairy tales and history books I used to read to him. "I don't even remember the last time I was here," he said softly. "This place feels more like home than anywhere else. Isn't that weird?" "No," I said. "It's not weird at all. It's just memory trying to remind you of who you are." He sighed. "I don't want to forget again, Mom." A beat passed before I spoke. "You know, Caleb, the seat next to you wasn't empty. It just wasn't seen. Everything you've become, everything you celebrated today, your laughter, your kindness, your strength, was shaped by someone in the background. I was there. Always. Just not where they could see me." He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "I don't want you in the background anymore." The next day, I didn't expect the knock at my door. When I opened it, it was Caleb, again, only this time, his father stood behind him. Arms crossed, jaw tight. "Can we come in?" Caleb asked. I stepped aside, heart already racing. His father didn't sit. He stayed standing, his tone clipped. "Caleb told me what happened. He says you manipulated him. Made him feel guilty." I narrowed my eyes. "I didn't say a word, David. He came to me on his own." Caleb stepped in. "Dad, stop. She didn't manipulate me. She reminded me who's been holding me up all these years while everyone else acted like she didn't exist." His father frowned. "You stormed out of your birthday party and embarrassed your stepmom." Caleb held up the locket. She was never supposed to take Mom's place. That silenced the room. David's jaw tightened. Your stepmom has done a lot for you. She has, Caleb agreed. But she didn't carry me on her back when I had fevers. She didn't work overtime just to buy my school books. She didn't teach me how to tie my shoelaces or braid string into bracelets. He turned to me. She did. David was stunned. I want things to be different now, Caleb continued. That means inviting Mom to sit where she belongs, not in the background, but beside me.